We haven't talked about what's going on in Ukraine, Lewis. And the number of protesters has surpassed 250,000. This is just incredible. ABC News is reporting that more than a quarter of a million people have been protesting in the streets of Kiev. They've been mostly peaceful, but they have set up barricades around Independence Square to try to keep the police out, which have been in full riot gear. They say that this is going to continue until the president calls new elections. Why are the people of Ukraine angry? Because Ukraine's president, Viktor Yanukovych, backed out of a trade deal with the European Union last week. And some say this wasn't just about a trade deal, but it was more of a symbolic decision about the future of the country. Is Ukraine going to go in the direction of the European Union, or is Ukraine going to go in the direction of Vladimir Putin's Russia? And all indications suggest that there were conversations taking place between Russia and Ukraine prior to the decision about this trade deal, Lewis, and that any reasonable observer would believe that Russia had influence over Ukraine choosing not to engage in this trade pact with the European Union, and people are understandably angry.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these people were around for the dissolving of the USSR, and a lot of them are probably wondering if political forces in Ukraine want to, I don't know, integrate with Russia or something crazy along those lines. But I mean, politically, Russia is very, very powerful, and the EU has certainly had its fair share of economic hardship recently. It's I don't know if I'd call it a complicated issue, but certainly an emotional one.
No question. And then the question I've been receiving from people is, how did this guy get elected in the first place if there are so many people against his policy? Ukraine is pretty much split down the middle. The people in the industrial eastern half speak Russian. They're Russian Orthodox, and they favor these closer ties with Russia. Those in the western half of Ukraine are completely opposed. They prefer to speak Ukrainian. They are more commonly Roman Catholic. And most importantly, they want the closer ties with Europe rather than with Russia. Also, Yanukovych tried to steal an election in 2004, but the protests known as the Orange Revolution forced a new election that he lost. However, those who took over ended up being incompetent, and Yanukovych won the next time. I have a couple of videos to play for you. We have violence from both sides, some elements of violence from both sides. Here is video of the protesters, the opposition, trying to use a bulldozer to keep the police back. It's incredible video. Look at this. And then we also do have video of police brutality. It seems it's hard to have this amount of protest without having examples of police brutality in 2013 on planet Earth. And not surprisingly, take a look at this.
And ugly. The crowds turn and run as riot police burst out from behind their cordon, literally kicking and beating their way through protesters. One man attacked by 3 separate officers. Beaten continuously even when offering no resistance, holding their hands up to try and protect them.
So that's where things stand now, Lewis. I actually think that what hasn't really been discussed broadly, Americans should be focusing on the specifics of what's going on. But Lewis, think about this. Do people in the U.S. at this level know about trade deals? I mean, it's very interesting to me that in Ukraine, the people are highly engaged in the specifics of a trade deal, where in the U.S., yes, there have been some protests around NAFTA and when there is a G8 summit surrounding economic issues, etc. But you could make the argument that it's because in the U.S., the situation is such that a trade deal may not drastically impact the day-to-day lives of people because things are more stable. But regardless, I'm very interested in the fact that Ukrainian citizens are highly engaged in this.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. And of course, they're in an area that, I don't know, it just might be a bigger part of the conversation, considering where they're located. I know here it never is. I hope this doesn't turn into some type of civil war. I'm sure Putin would love to flex his muscles if something